Well, one team has already got swept away into the night, but we got three games on the card for you tonight in MLB playoff action. I'm Dan Alexander, and this is First Pitch on WagerTalk TV. We're going to have a free play for you in every single game tonight. That's right. Three experts breaking it down with me and a great crew on an early edition here. I got Bryan Power, Steve Merril, and Rob Veno alongside me, ready to break down the entire baseball card for you folks, and we're excited about it. We got some big game breakdowns coming your way, all three games, and then at least the best bet in all three games as well. So Bri, let's kick it off. You and I were talking before the show about man, the Phils really had their finger on the pulse for 14 innings this entire series, and then life happened. That homer, that insane double play due to some boneheaded base running by my man Harper. I think momentum has completely flipped in this series. Braves, Phillies. You agree with that, or you think maybe Phillies coming home, they have a chance at a get back? How are you looking at this for a little big game breakdown?
Yeah, unfortunately, Dan, I do want to go back to the game two finish. We can commiserate together
Oh,
because words cannot describe how mad I was myself for simply not playing the Phillies in the first five. I had them full game. Zach Wheeler was absolutely
mm,
dealing, but the less said, the better about those last four innings. And I think most would agree with you, Dan, including myself, that momentum is clearly on the side of the Braves coming off that game two victory. But I think the Phillies most would say have a pretty clear starting pitching edge with Aaron Nola on the mound here in game three. Nola has been great at home all season, 3.04 ERA, 0.94 whip in 15 starts. The team is 11-4 in those 15 starts, and they have overall won Nola's last five. Wild card round, Nola dominated the Marlins, 7 shutout innings, a 3-hit ball, only 3 strikeouts though. And we obviously all know the Braves have a much stronger lineup than the Marlins. Against Atlanta, Nola's got a 3.40 career ERA, beat them in last year's LDS, allowed just an unearned run over 6 innings. But the Braves hitters, they obviously know him well, and we're talking about a lineup that was first in WRC plus during the regular season against both lefties and righties, just all around best offense in baseball. And they probably, you could say, woke up in those late innings of game two, and there could be a carryover here in game three. But the thing that makes me a little weary of the Braves, guys, is the starting pitching situation. I assume we're going to see both Bryce Elder and AJ Smith Shawver tonight. Elder, not a fan of him. He was having a strong second half, but if you were a client of mine, you probably recall that I wrote several times regression would be coming. Sure enough, Elder posts a 5.11 ERA over the second half. He allowed a 3.69 weighted on base average in September, which is absolutely dreadful. Smith Shawver, he's not a whole heck of a lot more appealing. He strikes out just 19% of the batters he faced, allowed 7 homers in his last 5 starts. Obviously, the home run, the biggest offensive weapon in the postseason. So I'm going to look for some early offense in game 3 and say first 5 over, probably the way to go in this one. That number is currently 5 for the record. So not making a decision on the side, which I'm sure pleases you, Dan, but I think we see more than 5 runs in those first 5 innings.
well, unfortunately, we may have a decision on the side coming up in best bets that I may not like to hear. So I'm going to do the old earmuffs coming up here a little bit later when we get to our best bets segment. But let's go to Steve Merrill and talk a little Houston and Minnesota. Houston Astros have the chance to go to the ALCS for the 7th season in a row when they're facing off against the Twins on Wednesday. So, Steve, domination, Astros is thy name. Does it continue here tonight?
Yeah, love when you're making the old school references with earmuffs. Had I known you were going to do that, I would have not have taken
I
five
knew you
minutes
could
and wasted all
appreciate
that
it.
water. I wouldn't have gotten the hair wetted down because you don't know how out of control it really is at this moment. I could have done the Will Ferrell. Wish we had this. We got to get together before the show. This is why it's
That's on me.
important. But
That's on me, Steve.
it is on you. But it's okay. I don't know how you had to go there. I mean, all you had to do say was earmuffs, and then I get the earmuffs. Anyway, love that. Love that movie. Just great scene. Yeah, look, that's the first game, right? 5 o'clock. We got another game at 7 o'clock, and then we have a late game at 9 o'clock Eastern. So we do have a triple play here. This is the middle game, Houston, Minnesota. And yeah, the Astros limped into the playoffs. I mean, the most fortunate 2 seed ever. They were on the verge of not even making the playoffs with a few weeks to go. And then they went against a disinterested Arizona team who's looked really good, by the way. Rob will talk about them next. And then Texas does not get it done, loses 1-0 on the finale. And Houston goes from having to play the wild card, I guess, against Tampa like Texas had to do, and end up getting a bye and catching probably what you could say was a pretty fortunate matchup also with Minnesota out of the worst division in baseball, the AL Central. Now the Twins have done somewhat what they've had to do this postseason. They sweep Toronto 5-1 in total score. A little bit of a lackluster 6-4 win in Game 1, but yeah, the Astros have been just lights out the last couple games. I'm sorry, a 6-4 loss. Then they get the nice 6-2 win. Got to wonder though if that day off on Monday, the travel day, has reset this series though, because last night was dominant. 9-1 win for Houston, and on top of that, it wasn't misleading. 14 hits to 3. The Astros offense is starting to heat up. The Astros offense really struggled for times this season. They have 9 hits or more now in 3 of their last 4 games. And overall, they have 30 hits in the 3 games against Minnesota. And we're getting them at a plus money price here. So I think it's very difficult to go against what's been probably the most consistent team in baseball now for the past 5 to 7 years, as you mentioned. And we're getting them at plus 105, even as high as plus 110. Total has dropped a little bit from the opener of 8.5 down to 8. It's now 8 over. And once again, it does look like the Houston offense is heating up. So a little surprised to see that move down. And once again, not going to get in front of the Astros in a clinch situation. Wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota sneaks in. He maybe makes a Game 5, but it looks like this series is Houston's to lose at this point, and they're too experienced and too veteran to let it slip away, in my opinion.
How are you looking to bet that one? Hop below in the comments and let us know. Also, that Phillies Braves series, how are you betting that one tonight? And we also want to know your thoughts on if the Dodgers are getting swept here. We'll talk to Rob Veno and get his thoughts here right now. I mean, Arizona has just been a juggernaut. I mean, through the wild card round, through what they're doing right now against the Dodgers. Are we going to see 2 sweeps here and have everyone with these 100 win teams crying about how they need to redo the playoff format? But what do you think as far as Arizona and LA Dodgers go tonight? Because this one, I think I'm even more shocked about than what happened with the O's.
I'm dodging bullets here right now, Dan, because both of my boys were born in Las Vegas and they took to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I was raised a Dodgers fan by my father. So I'm dodging bullets from these kids every day. And a sweep would just be unmerciful for me. But let's take a look at this. Only 3 games to choose from tonight. So I did the big game breakdown and best bet from the same game. The big game breakdown, I think, is worth a flyer. Let's look at it this way. I think the Diamondbacks at plus price, strictly based on momentum and feel right now for the way they're going. Their offense, and most surprisingly of all, their bullpen is rolling right now. A team that did not pitch well in relief all season long. It takes to the playoffs, throws well against the Brewers, throws well against the Dodgers. The offense right now, they're showing you they can win multiple ways, right? They get behind twice in Milwaukee, come from behind and win, spurred on by their offense and bullpen in those 2 games. And then, of course, against the Dodgers, they get on top real quick and hold off the Dodgers. One game, they blow them out. The second game, they hold them off. But for the Diamondbacks right now, 4 playoff games, 26 runs scored. They're plus 17 run differential in only 4 games. They have a 351 on base percentage. So they're doing very well right now as far as offense is concerned. They've scored in 10 different innings throughout their 4 games in the playoffs. 6 of those 10 innings, they've scored multiple runs. So clutch hitting has come into play for the Diamondbacks as well. The bullpen that I spoke of has a 1.15 ERA through 4 games, 1.07 whip. They have not allowed a home run and they have 18 strikeouts. So, that aspect of the Diamondbacks, again, which was non-apparent all season long, all of a sudden pitching very well. Credit to guys like Andrew Saalfrank, who we didn't see regular season. Joe Mantiply, Ryan Thompson, who they picked up off the scrap heap from Tampa Bay. Kevin Ginkel has turned it on the end of the year. Seawald, a guy who basically, Earl Weaver and Steve being close to the Orioles would know this, but Earl Weaver used to have a reliever back in '79 called Don Stanhouse, who he called Six Pack because he would take like 6 packs of cigarettes to get through an inning. So that's the way Seawald has been, but now he's been on fire as of late. Ryan Nelson, Miguel Castro, credit to all those guys. Another reason why you might want to look at the Diamondbacks here, guys, is this won't be the usual Dodger takeover of Chase Field, right? We see Arizona often just have 75% visitors fans and only 25% of their own. But heading into this game, all of a sudden, the ticket price for Diamondbacks home playoff tickets has shot up by at least 4 times the regular price. And the fans reportedly are buying up the seats like crazy. So they may have a huge home crowd here for this game. Um, I think Brandon Pfaadt, if you want to have one question, has he had too much time off? He had 7 days off after getting whacked around in the opening game of the Milwaukee series. But to that point, his opponent tonight, Lance Lynn, has had 11 days off. I think when you add it all up again, it's worth a flyer to take the Diamondbacks here. I saw anywhere from plus $1.25 to plus $1.30. So somewhere in that range, maybe take a shot with the Diamondbacks and the sweep.
Looking towards the sweep, and Rob gonna get dragged by the family. This is we talked about betting emotional hedges right there the other day on the show, and this one makes a lot of sense here, Rob. But man, with how Arizona's playing right now, getting a plus money price at home, hard not to at least do a sprinkle on that one. That's Rob Veno. Let us know how you're betting that game, and folks. Final day, if you want to rock with any of our handicappers for this midst of football goodness we have going on, as 7 weeks straight of either NFL or college football started about a week ago. And we're doing a special where you can ride every single day for just $39 per week. Check it out, wagertalk.com/deals. But before that, you do that, make sure you throw us a like here on First Pitch. All right, best bet time, Bri. I'm swinging it back to you. We just heard the thoughts on the Dodgers and D-backs for our man Rob Veno. He's talking side. You're looking towards this decently high total, sitting around 9.5. You think it's high for a reason?
Yes, I do. And I guess the theme for me today, Dan, is I'm just not enamored with any of the starting pitchers because, with the season on the line, need 3 straight wins. The Dodgers, as Rob pointed out, going with Lance Lynn. Now, Lynn, he was marginally better after coming over from the White Sox, but he still had a couple blow-ups in a Dodgers uniform. And we're talking about a guy who's given up the most home runs in all of baseball this season, 44, including 12 in his last 7 starts. For the year, Lynn now has a 5.73 ERA. That includes 6.06 on the road. So I would agree with Rob. The asking price on the Dodgers, a touch high, and I think the value is on Arizona with the side. But Rob also mentioned this. Brandon Pfaadt, I think, is a bit of a question mark here. I don't trust him either. Twice he started against the Dodgers this year. The result, 9.35 ERA. He allows 10 runs and 14 hits in 8 2/3 innings in those 2 starts. And he wasn't particularly effective in the wild card round either. I thought he was very lucky, Pfaadt, to only give up 3 runs in 2 2/3 against Milwaukee. Milwaukee left a lot of runners on base in that game. At home this year, because remember, that was on the road, but at home this year, Pfaadt, he's got a 6.46 ERA and a 1.30 whip. So I am not going to be scared off by the high number here, Dan. Dodgers road games this year, oh, by the way, averaged an MLB high 10.7 runs per game. No team scored more on the road, and the result was by far the best over mark away from home this season. Dodgers were 51, 26, and 4 to the over outside of Dodger Stadium. They averaged 5.9 runs per game themselves. So I'll say take the over in this one. And I just want to let everyone know I do have a stronger over-under play currently posted at wagertalk.com, 4% best bet. Last year, I closed the MLB postseason on a 16-4 overall run, and that included a perfect 10-0 with totals. This will be my first over-under play this postseason. And if you want to lock in long-term, you can see right there on the screen. Use code POWER30, get a 30-day all-sport pass for just $229. That'll get you right through the World Series.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to mention. You can go and grab that 4% play if you want, or you can rock with Bryan for an entire month using that code POWER30. And if you've never bought from us before, throw that in your cart. You'll automatically get 15% off for first purchase buyers. Anything that's in your cart, slash the entire thing off for 15. That's our little thanks for you newbies watching the show here. Maybe for the first time, never tried us out over at Wager Talk. Take 15% off anything for new buyers. So a terrific deal if you want to dip your toe. All right, Steve, let's go back to this Braves and Phillies game. And as I said before, you got a best bet on the side, and I'm going earmuffs. Why are we betting the Braves, Steve?
Well, the series will not be over tonight because it's 1-1. The Braves tied it up. Come from behind, never in doubt win. And that was the change of the series, in my opinion. Phillies looked like they're going to go up 2-0. Probably could have gone up 2-0, should have gone up 2-0. They would have had to lose 3 in a row. Now the Braves are back in it. It's a 1-1. It becomes a best of 3 here in this best of 5 overall. And I'm not going against the best team in baseball this year in basically a pivotal game 3 in a tied series. And I like the fact that they did come from behind. They have some momentum here heading in. Both teams played in the same division this year. Atlanta was 14 games better than Philadelphia, 150 net runs better, 20 games above 500 against winning teams. Phillies just 4 games above 500 against winning teams. So there's no doubt, no matter which metric you look at, Atlanta's the better team. Yet they have not, as of at least Wednesday morning, as we do the taping for this show, they have not officially listed their starting pitcher. And Aaron Nola's on the mound. So that means we're getting the best team in baseball in what I think is a good spot at an underdog price. So we'll take a look at the Atlanta Braves, currently plus $1.10, plus $1.15. Could switch a bit based on the pitcher. I think it's going to be Smith Shriver. And I think they were probably going to rely on the bullpen a little bit more than normal. Bullpen's been solid this year. Overall, a 1.26 whip. But I just like the momentum they gained from that never in doubt 5-4 win with only 4 hits the other night. On the surface, that would normally concern me that they've only had 5 and 4 hits in their 2 games and only put up 5 runs. But I think maybe the tide turned a bit in game 2. And I think that momentum continues with Atlanta this evening in game 3. So take a look at the Braves, especially at an underdog price tonight on Wednesday. And if you want my strongest plays for Wednesday night, go to my page right now, stevemerril.wagertalk.com. I'm looking at something in the late game, possibly between the D-backs and Dodgers. Also, a lot of college football on the card each night this week. And don't forget about those standalone college and pro football preview videos here on the channel. And of course, my college football top 25 and NFL Fade the Public videos will be up the next couple of days as well. So hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts, and check out my personal best bet, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, and as Steve said, make sure you hit that bell because we'll be rocking here on First Pitch throughout the MLB playoffs, but we also got the NHL show. We got college football breakdowns and NFL breakdowns around the clock here on Wager Talk TV. So more reason than ever to hit that little bell and more reason than ever to check Steve out over at WagerTalk.com. All right, Rob, you're going to get the final word. Go back to the series that may be causing you agita with the Suns, Dodgers, and Arizona. You talked about maybe the side. How are you thinking this might work out here in the first 5?
Well, I think I'm going to combine with my good friend Bryan Power and maybe create the old, I don't know, VP parlay here.
Ooh.
I'd say PV and put Power first, but I don't know. PV doesn't sound as influential as VP does. So we'll use Veno first and then Power.
Strong branding, Rob.
I am going to go and do the same exact thing he is because I think the total is the best bet on the board here, and it comes from this game. But I'll shorten it up the first 5, and a lot of the stuff that Brian already mentioned with the starting pitching. That's what I'm fading here is the starting pitching of these two. Brandon Pfaadt, as has been mentioned here, first game against Milwaukee, 2 2/3, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. Probably should have been more than 3. A statistic I like to look at, guys, is pitches per inning. How difficult is it for you to get out of any given inning? In that particular game for Brandon Pfaadt, it took 25.1 pitches to get out of an inning. That's just way too many here. I know he's at home, and maybe he's got a playoff game under his belt now, and maybe things could change a little bit. But against this Dodger offense, I wouldn't think that it'll change all that much. At home this season, Brian talked about it. His ERA was terrible, right? 6.46 ERA. 888 OPS. That's not a good number when you're facing a power-laden team like LA. Here's another one real quick. I talked earlier about how he's had 7 days since that Milwaukee game, 7 days off. Brandon Pfaadt this season with 6 or more days of rest. It's happened 6 times. He's made 6 starts off of 6 days or better worth of rest. He's got an 8.36 ERA, 1.57 whip, and he's only gone 4 1/3 in those 6 starts on average. So he has not been good. The more he's rested, it hasn't helped him out any. He's 0-2 against the Dodgers this year. They feasted against this guy. 9.35 ERA against LA, 2.08 whip. If you're going to put 2 guys on per inning against the Dodgers, you're probably not going to get away with it. And he's only thrown a grand total of 8 2/3 against them, so they got rid of him quickly. Lance Lynn on the other side of this coin, I don't want to trust him either. Brian talked about the home runs he's allowed. He's a predominant fly ball pitcher in a park where the ball gets out of very quickly. Hitters always talk about how they see the ball so much better at Chase Field because of the black background and the ball coming in. 6 days or more worth of rest for Lance Lynn. 4.98 ERA, 1.54 whip. He's averaged 5 2/3 innings. Again, Lance Lynn goes a little bit longer because he's considered a horse and he'll just stay out there and give up runs. Doesn't matter. They'll run the pitch count up with him. He doesn't walk guys constantly around the plate. And what we've seen out of Arizona is just a ton of contact. They've kind of been that way all season long. I think, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, guys, I had this in my notes, but I'm not looking at it now. I think they're like 3rd or 4th best with a strikeout rate in the Major League Baseball this season. So Diamondbacks make contact. This guy pitched to contact. He's fly ball contact. He gives up home runs. To me, all of this stuff adds up to more than 5.5 runs in the first 5 innings. We're talking about maybe a 3-3 tie, a 4-2 game, something like that gets you paid. I think that's going to be pretty good here. Lance Lynn, here's another number. 17 times this season, he's been on the hill where his team has scored 5 runs or less. In those games, he's 2-9. So he needs more than 5 runs just to be successful as far as win-loss is concerned. Again, I think runs will be scored early and often here. He's made 11 starts with the Dodgers. 7 of those are at home. The 4 on the road, 5.56 ERA, 1.46 WHIP. He's given up 7 home runs in 22 2/3 road innings with the Dodgers. So again, we're spouting off a lot of statistics that add towards over. I think I'll go first 5 over. Brian's got full game over. I think we can both win this one. So that's where I'm going to go for the best bet. Dodgers, Arizona, first 5 over 5.5 runs.
First 5 going over for Rob Veno, Steve Merril on the Bravos, and the full game going over for our man Bryan Power. That's the best bets from the experts. Hop in the comments below and let us know what your best bet is. Anybody betting any home run props? Always love seeing those in the comments as well. And while you're down there dropping a comment, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe. It's the best way to help us grow here. If you appreciate what we do at WagerTalk TV, big thanks to the crew, Rob Veno, Steve Merril, and Bryan Power. I've been Dan Alexander, and Steve going to be pinch hitting for me the next 2 days. I got to get this voice right, and I got to go see the Nittany Lions in State College. Take the 43. Take the 43 with UMass. I'm going to do it. It's going to be ugly, guys. But best of luck with your baseball bets. Best of luck with all your bets. And we'll see you next time right here on WagerTalk TV.